Hello. Okay, welcome everybody to this live photo editing session. My name is Mike Davies, and in today's session, I'm going to be showing you guys how to create this photo here. I kind of experimented with it a bit. Hopefully you guys like it. It's kind of like a fear and loathing look. I just wanted to do something with this photo because it looks kind of trippy already without the effect. If I turn this effect off, here's what the original image look like, the original scene here. So I just went with this cool effect, which I created using an effect in Gimmick, a filter in Gimmick, and I'm going to show you guys that in a minute. But before I get into all of that, let me, of course, direct you guys over to my website at daviesmediadesign.com. As always, we have tons of GIMP video and text tutorials on here, so definitely feel free to check those out. You can also enroll in my GIMP 2.10 photo editing masterclass from beginner to pro. And you can support our channel and help us grow by becoming a patron on Patreon. And we've had a few new patrons join us recently, so thank you to you guys if you end up watching this or if you're watching this now. And Fedora, thanks for joining us. And all right, let's, without further ado, dive into this tutorial. And I don't know, I really like this effect for this particular photo. Hopefully, you guys think it looks as cool as I think it does. I just think there's a lot of cool stuff going on here with like the bookcase being real interesting, and then there's like this hand going on inside of the shelving here, the display case, and then she's grabbing this really cool piece of jewelry, and then even the coffee cup here looks really trippy and cool with this effect. So I'll show you guys how to perform this effect, and I'm going to upload this photo once I'm done with the live session so you guys can follow along on my Flickr page. And yeah, I'm just realizing I'll get that up there once this tutorial is finished up. But yeah, thank you everybody for joining. You guys, as per usual, can use the super chat feature if you want to support the channel. So let's start by opening up this photo. So I'll go to File, Open Recent, and I'm going to open up our photo here. And I'm not going to spend too much time on the actual photo editing portion today. I'm going to kind of breeze through it because I've done it, a bunch of times for the live photo editing sessions. But let's go ahead and start by going to Image, Scale Image, and I'm just going to scale this to 1920 and hit the Tab key to scale it down to 1280, and I'll hit Scale. And then I'll hold Control and zoom in a bit here. And now I'm going to go to Colors, Shadows, Highlights, and I'm going to fix the shadows mostly in this image because there's not a whole lot of highlights going on, so I'm actually going to leave the highlights there. And then I'm also going to shift the white point, and that's just going to brighten this image up overall. And I'm just going to turn up the radius and the compress a bit to make sure those effects aren't too spread out there, and I'll click OK. And next step, I'm going to go to Colors, Color Balance, and for this photo in my midtones, I actually liked having a tiny bit of red, or at least I did originally. Not a ton of red though. And then for the other sliders here, just the usual slight tweaking of the colors. And here's a before, here's an after. It's a little bit more red than the original. Let me actually turn that red down a bit. I don't want to overdo it. And we're actually going to fix some of this with the levels tool as well. So add a little bit of green there to the shadows. So then we've got yellow versus blue. And now we're going on to the highlights here. And for those of you just joining, we are going to go through the usual photo editing today, the live photo editing, and then I'm also going to show you how to add a cool, dreamy, almost like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas look to your image. And Gimmick, by the way, for those of you who haven't downloaded it yet, I have done it. I have used it in other tutorials, especially a couple tutorials recently. I think it's a great free program, and I do recommend you download it. It's completely free, and it's full of features. Thanks for joining us again, Victor. Glad to see you. And I'm going to click OK, and that will apply my color balance. All right, so next I'm going to go to Colors, Levels, and this is going to allow us to do a little bit of color balancing again, but also adjust the overall brightness and contrast of this image. And this image is a fairly dark image, so I do want to brighten it up a decent amount without really overdoing it. And now I'm going to come over to the red channel here and make some adjustments to the red. I do have, excuse me, I do have an entire tutorial dedicated to using the levels tool to color balance, so if you haven't seen it yet, I definitely recommend you check that out. And thank you for watching again from Israel this week. It's always great to have an international audience here. So there's a before, there's an after so far. I might have to tweak the value slider again before we apply the changes, depending on how I can get these colors to look. And so now we're using the green channel here to make some adjustments. And actually I'm going to just tweak the values a little bit because I think I brightened it up a bit too much. And that caused some of the contrast to get lost in here. So now I'm going to come back to the blue slider. And I'm getting a question from Vasquez asking why is my GIMP white. I just changed the theme to be the legacy theme, and you could do that over here from edit, preferences, and then you can change your theme. I have, if you check out my 2-hour GIMP Basics tutorial, there is a little sort of like table of contents that links to each part of my video, and I recommend checking out how I change my theme, but this is just the legacy version. I just prefer this over the dark theme. Alright, so there's a before, there is an after. So that looks pretty good. I'll click OK. And now we're going to go to colors and saturation. So now I'm just going to turn the saturation up a bit, and that is going to bring out some of these colors here. We're also going to work on the color temperature of this image in a second. So there's a before, there's an after. The reason I'm editing the photo before I apply the effect is that the effect is going to sort of bring out those colors in the image. And so I want the colors to be right when I'm using that effect. Otherwise, it's just going to look a little bit more bland, a little bit on the bland side. And so that's why I'm going to edit the photo and then apply the effect. If you apply the effect to an unedited photo, and I'm going to colors, color balance, or I'm sorry, colors, color temperature right now. If you apply the effect before you edit the photo, it's just not going to look as good. So when I originally edited this image, I turned the temperature way up and it looked really good. In this case, it doesn't look quite as good as it did originally, so I'm not going to turn it up as much. And I almost feel like I might need to color balance this again, but I think it looks alright, so I'm going to leave it at that. And now I'm going to go to colors, curves, and this will be the last adjustment I make before I apply this effect. So I'm just going to adjust my curves here to get a little bit of contrast going. And so there we go. I'll click OK. And let me, I'm actually going to sharpen this, add a vignette, and then we are going to add that effect. So let me duplicate this and go over here to Filters, Enhance, High Pass, and this is going to add high pass sharpening. And if you guys have any questions from tutorials you've watched throughout the week, feel free to ask. It does not have to be related to this tutorial I'm doing right now. It could be any tutorial that you watched that you had a question on. So I'm just adjusting the standard deviation and the contrast using this high pass filter. And the goal of this is to get the edges to stand out, because this is basically doing edge sharpening, and that's more or less what an image is doing when it's being sharpened. Is it's just making, it's adding contrast to the edges in your image. So you can see there's a lot of detail now, and I'll click OK. But of course, the last step is we have to change the layer mode. So I'll go with, let's go with soft light, and then I'll duplicate this, and that's just going to increase the sharpening there a little bit more. And now I'm going to create a new layer and name this vignette and hit the Enter key. And now go to Filters, Light and Shadow, Vignette. And now I'm going to shift the vignette over a little bit here so that she is in the middle of it. Adjust the softness and the radius so that it doesn't encroach too much on our model here. And also the gamma a little bit. Click OK. And I may have increased the radius a bit too much on that vignette, but it looks all right. So there's before, there's an after. Very subtle vignette as per usual. Mr. Smith, you know, the question can be anything about GIMP. Whether that's this tutorial, any tutorials on my channel, or a general GIMP question. Just keep it appropriate is all I ask, but if you have a GIMP-related question, please ask away. It would be my pleasure to answer it. All right, so let's get into adding this effect here using Gimmick now that we have this photo edited. So I'm going to go to Layer, New from Visible, and that's going to put all of these layers here, my adjustments that I just made, onto a single layer. So I'll shift-click, and that is going to hide all my other layers besides my visible layer, which is the one I'm working on. And now what I'll do is I will come over here to Filters, and I'll go to Gimmick QT. And this is going to open up my Gimmick dialog here. And right now I have this set to, I'm in the Artistic section, so you click on that drop down, and then you come down here and find the effect called Dream Smoothing. So this was the effect that I originally used. And this is going to give our photo this like really crazy, trippy, like Fear and Loathing look, as you can see. So it's almost like a cartoon here. Not quite, but pretty dang close. And it gives everything this sort of like fluid look, and it still maintains a lot of the detail. So I really like this effect. So I'm just going to click OK, and that will apply my effect to my active layer. And so I'm getting a question here from Dano Plays. Sorry if I said your YouTube name wrong. Using the radius gradient, my two colors have a hard line where the two colors meet. How would I soften the meetup between the two colors? So, and here we have our applied effect here. And let me just demonstrate your question. So I'll create a new layer, name this gradient. And now I will come over and grab my gradient tool. So if you come over here, you can select your gradient. And you probably have yours set to foreground and background hard edge, which is this option here. So you can see that where the two colors meet, there's a hard line. But you can always come over here and change this to a different type of gradient, and really any of these options here will fix that problem. So I usually go with foreground and background RGB. That's a pretty common one, and that's how you would fix that. So hopefully that answered your question. And I'm just going to choose another tool and delete that gradient. And so the Vegas Israel is asking, Gimmick Filters is something like Nick Collection. I don't know what that is, so I'm not sure. But does it need to be installed separately? Yes, it does. I will include a link in the description once I'm done here. It's completely free to download, and it comes with like a million different effects. So, yeah. So why haven't you updated Gimmick QT yet? The new version is out. I will be doing that very soon. Thank you for getting that news over to me. I did not know they came out with a new version, so that's good to know. Yeah, Dano Plays, yeah, it's a pretty easy fix there, so glad I was able to find a solution for you. I need to extract details from an object hiding behind the clouds. What process would you suggest? I'm not really sure what you're referring to. You can always use the heal tool if you need to, or I'm sorry, the clone tool if you need to grab an object from one location and move it to another. You just hold Control and click on the object you want to clone, and then you can draw it wherever on your image. I need to extract details from an object hiding behind the clouds. You can also use the Shadows Highlights tool. That may bring out the details in an object if it's, you know, hidden in the shadows or something. So hopefully that answered your question. All right, so once you've applied this effect, go to Filters, Enhance, and I just added a little bit of sharpening to the effect after the fact because that just helped bring out some of the lines here. And so I'll just click OK. And if it's for forensics, then yeah, I would use like the Shadows Highlights tool. That would probably bring out some of those details you're looking to bring out. All right, guys, thank you for watching this tutorial. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, check out my YouTube channel at youtube.com/daviesmediadesign. Don't forget to subscribe. You can also visit my website at daviesmediadesign.com. I have tons of video and text tutorials on there. You can enroll in my best-selling Udemy course, and I'll include a link to that in the description. And you can support our channel and help us grow by becoming a patron on Patreon. And all your guys' support helps, especially on Patreon, and you know, definitely through your subscribing and your thumbs up on the videos. So guys, keep watching, keep learning. I appreciate your support, and I'll see you next time.